but the mental health stuff is just something I'm passionate about, and just do through the businesses. It's a underpinning value of essentially the why I do what we do in terms of our business, or should I say how we do our stuff. The contact business was born through the passion I've got around improving health and well-being for the industry, and the way that we operate BPM is because of that same thing.
Hi everybody, Gavin Coyle, I'm the Gaffer. We're back again with another brilliant guest, and guess what? Another guy from New Zealand. What is going on in New Zealand? Dan Bradley is Managing Director of BPM, and the reason we wanted Dan on the show was because he's not just an entrepreneur and a business owner of a successful construction company, but he has a passion in both digitalization and also in mental health, and he has experienced issues in both those areas, and he's there to give back to the construction industry. And we love people that just want to take some of their own value time and give it back to, especially to those two areas. So if you listen to the podcast, you'll understand that a lot of our conversations talk around about contracts, but also, how digitalization can make your business a better business. And also the epidemic that's hitting us globally, which is obviously the mental health epidemic. And Dan has some interesting insights to tell us today. Dan, welcome to I'm the Gaffer. Great to have you on the show. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, same. Thanks for having me on, mate. It's looking forward to having a good old chat, and hopefully we can offer some people some value.
New Zealand. What part of New Zealand?
I live in Wellington, so smack bang in the middle, or bottom of the North Island, if you like. Been here I'm actually getting on for 20 years here now, so getting closer and closer to actually having spent more time here than back in Manchester, a native.
Your native ground
place, where I was my birthplace.
How's the construction industry in New Zealand? Is it booming, or where are we at, like in terms of work-wise?
We're recovering is probably the best way to describe it. We've like many in the world, we've gone through a dip and a recession, and a technical recession, and we've had quite a we had a change of government a couple of years ago, and they all tightened their purse strings on everything, and a lot of the public sector work got put on hold, which slowed a lot of things down and created a bit of a tight market. But we're slowly on the rise. We're starting to see more things happening. There's lots of green shoots, as they say, starting to pop up, and I guess the outlook for a lot of all the economists say anyway is in kind of next 6 months things should start moving. We've got the government here actually doing quite a lot of things to try and enable work to take off, changes to RMA, which is like planning consents here, and making building consents a bit easier and other things like that. So yeah, the outlook is supposedly positive.
Okay, give me a sense of Dan Bradley then. What the hell? Who are you?
Yeah. So who am I? So an engineer by training, project manager by experience, I suppose. As I said earlier, I've been here for getting on close to 20 years, and came out here
from the UK.
Really, just from the UK. Yeah, originally from Manchester. Was a building services engineer in Manchester. Working before I left, I was working on the big Manchester Arndale Centre as an on-site engineer, and I think we'd just had a 2-week summer, and it was time for me to see what pastures new looked like. Got offered a job here in New Zealand, and got offered a job in Dallas, Texas, and doing a bit of research, saw that Dallas, Texas had the highest gun crime rate in the world, and New Zealand was somewhere near Australia, so I figured this part of the world was a place to come and give it a nudge. Yeah, I say that was 20 years ago. Landed in Auckland. I kind of fell into project management before project management was an actual thing. and found a passion for it. Found that it was something actually I enjoyed doing a bit more than being sat at a desk doing the engineering piece. And never looked back. That was 20 years ago.
You lost the Manchester accent, if you don't mind me saying.
It depends who you talk to.
And are you married, kids, or did you settle down?
Yeah. I'm married to a Kiwi, and hence why I'm in Wellington now, no longer in Auckland. Okay. And I've got 2 kids, 1 girl, 1 boy, a 15-year-old going on 22, and a 14-year-old boy.
Yeah, I have 2 of those. So tell me about BPM. What do BPM do? What kind of construction do you do? It's all commercial.
BPM, we do a bit of everything. But it's a project management and cost consultancy business, and started that now coming up to 9 years ago. So it was back end of August 2016. So coming up 9 years. That came from, so when I moved out here, I worked for an engineering firm as a PM. Was there for 5 years or so, and then did a lot of work in the downstream fuel industry, and then took a role with BP as a regional engineer and project manager, and then you're probably aware that New Zealand's a bit of a seismic country, and we were we had what it's called a place called Kaikoura here. Had a bit of a shake, and that ruined a few buildings in Wellington. And head office, which was where BP were based in Wellington, decided that they were going to move to Auckland, and it kind of put a time clock on my time with BP, because my wife was from Wellington, which ultimately meant I was going to be from Wellington at some point. And that was the catalyst to essentially start BPM, because it was what's next for me. Do I do a sideways move? And my now business partner actually in BPM was the one that kind of planted a seed in my head, a guy called Frank. And he asked me if I'd ever thought about starting my own business. And when I was starting to go through the options list of what I was going to do next, that was the thing that started to excite me. It was rather than thinking about job offers or people that I was talking to about potentially taking a job, I started to think about what I might name a business and what it should look like and things like that. So I read the business.govt website, which we've got over here, kind of back to front, about how to start a business, and started to put a business plan together of what that might look like. And Frank, who actually was my boss at BP and had then retired and left, I went to go on. So the story is, I went to go and see him and have a coffee, and I'd kind of convinced myself that I was going to ask him to come into the company with me, and if he said yes, then I was going to do it, and if he said no, then I'd probably just let it be a thought. We sat down, had a coffee, and I said, so "You put the idea into my head, and if you think that I can do this sort of thing, why don't you come in with me?" And he said, "Yeah, sure. How much do you want?" And that was the breaking of the bread to start BPM, essentially. So went away and signed up the business, registered it on the 31st of August 2016.
Well done. You've a typical engineer head on you, haven't you? You wouldn't go full on in without doing a full analytical approach to, why do I need to do it? How do I need to do it? Do I need to do it? What's the and by the way, let's bring this lad in just in case the shit hits the fan. Second person there. But kudos to you. You mentioned business plan, which I believe a lot of small business owners don't have, and it's such a critical document. People might say it's just words on a piece of paper, but if you truly commit to the words on the piece of paper and you say what you're going to do and you do what you're going to say, put it in the document. You've mentioned it there, and before you even got in. So even if you're a mature, established business. You should have a business plan, which is
Yeah,
obviously your
definitely.
strategy and your go-to document, your mission statement. Why are you doing what you're doing? Are you doing things that you shouldn't be doing? Which brings me on to the next subject: is how the hell did you get involved with mental health and construction? Sorry, not construction, digitalization, transformation. Considering you're trying
Yeah,
to run a construction company since 2016, so let's get
yeah,
into
yeah.
that. What the hell?
So yeah. Well, it was a weird and wonderful journey, in some respects. So yeah, I guess it was. I went on the what you might call traditional kind of journey as a business. It was a business of one, and working all of the hours of the day. The mindset of being sat down on the couch and going, every hour that I'm sat on the couch, I'm not earning. Doing the constant check of the bank account, making sure I'm doing the quick maths. All right, based on what's in there, I can help. If all work stopped tomorrow, how long could I go for? And continue to burn the midnight oil, and to be perfectly honest, built a bit of a poor lifestyle at that point. I had a drinking problem, if you like. I call it a problem now, looking back, but it was very much I'd work during the day and then have a bottle of whiskey that kind of nursing me whilst I was working through the night usually. My wife became a solo parent for the best part of a year, whilst I was getting the thing off the ground. And then it got to a point where I had enough work that I believed I could bring somebody on, and went to Frank, who was a mentor and a business partner and kind of governance advisor, and you'll love this. It was the told him the situation and what I was thinking, and first thing he said, "Yep, sounds good. Give me a business case. Do the numbers. Give me a business case to show me." So it was, yeah, okay. I've just told you how much work I've got on and how long the hours that I'm doing 7 days a week, and you give me more work to do to do it. But again, it was a golden piece of advice. It was sitting down and actually looking at the numbers and working through what it looks like to employ somebody and how much that might look like and what work they're going to do and what's the pipeline look like and things like that. It was a real therapeutic process to go through to give myself confidence that it wasn't just a shoot from the hip kind of thing. And presented it to him and got, yeah, makes sense, go for it, type of thing. And then went into the journey of employment and becoming someone's boss, and the whole mindset shift of that. And now I've got to worry about somebody else and somebody else's futures in my hand, and do I actually know enough to do that? And how do you manage people and do all the things that that you're required to do, so you don't end up in jail and all those sorts of things. And I was.
It's called responsibility, Dan.
And I'd never suffered from stress, or I'd never believed I suffered from stress. I used to have this motto of like, stress is just unwasted. Is why worry about stress, or why have stress? You might as well just use that time that you're stressing to do the thing that's causing you stress. And it was a friend of mine who shared with me a thing called unconscious stress. So where you're stressed, but you actually know it and you have all the signs of it, but you haven't actually realised that you're gritting your teeth and you're not sleeping well and all these other bits and pieces. And the amount of times I found I was just biting my jaw, stood at my desk, and I was like, I was right. Like I need to. And I started to put a bit more thought back into health and well-being. I'd always stayed fit. I'd always eaten moderately, pretty much well, and had the balance and stuff. But thought I'd lost that whilst I was, after I'd started the business essentially. And I thought, if I'm going to employ people, kind of what's made me successful was look after myself and putting myself first. The whole put your own breathing mask on before you put on somebody else's. And if I was going to do that, I was going to need to. I wanted that as part of the business. So we had a health and well-being initiative in the business from day one. How we can, and budget things. We pay for health insurance. We pay for memberships, and it became part of people's contracts that they actually need to participate actively in the health and wellbeing initiatives that we have. We give extra days off. We have twice a year we'll all get together and go and do something like a Tough Mudder or a marathon or whatever it might be. Financial wellbeing assistance and other first aid. We train all our people, get trained as first aid, mental health first aiders, because there's physical health and safety, but there's also mental first aid as well. So how you recognise signs of stress and all that sort of stuff. So we started doing that as a business, and if I was going to make people do that, I had to walk the talk myself. So I sorted myself out, and we implemented that within the business. A few years later, in 2018, a colleague of mine, close colleague, who I'd worked with for quite a few years, passed away. He took his own life. And it was, while you can't say that's the reason, he'd previously to that, he'd been away on stress leave a couple of times, and this last time when he came back, I remember thinking to myself, he came back quick. That was like he hadn't been away long. The day before it happened, we'd been working on a project together, and I was on site for a handover, but I had a question for him and rang him up, and we had our usual back and forth, and kind of a bit of a joke. I gave him some shit about his engineering design, and he gave me some back, and kind of it was a normal conversation. The next day, I got a phone call telling me that he was gone, and it was real strong, a feeling of kind of, how did I not know? How I spoke to him yesterday. How did I not recognise? Why didn't he say anything? And kind of what the hell? And then you start becoming super aware of. In New Zealand, we have a thing, WorkSafe, who are the body that look after health and safety here, and they have a thing called serious undertakings, which is if someone's done something, harmed somebody physically, or there's been a physical incident. There's obviously the different levels of say punishment, but accountability. And they have a thing called serious undertakings, and you get these newsletters through and emails through telling you about how this has happened, that, and then here someone's the ultimate top of the pyramid, has lost their life, and there's one of the factors is the fact that he was overworked and under a lot of stress, and nothing. There was nothing, and it just became immediately obvious that there was an H in health and safety, but it didn't actually ever get recognised, or nobody was do anything about it. So we went on a journey as BPM to try and do something about it, and all of the work that we did internally around health and well-being, try and do something about it, at least have in our sphere of influence. And we started to do things like making sure that anybody that wanted to work with us had to have prerequisites of mental health policies and health and well-being things, and demonstrate to us how they were keep having that as a focus in their business and what they were doing for their people. There's lots of awareness campaigns and other bits and pieces that and trying to and asking site foremen to be trained in mental health as well as first aid, normal physical first aid, and that was our starting place for having a real focus on health and well-being and mental health particularly, and then we were in the process of at the same time our business was growing, and I was starting to have the usual business struggles of scale and what you do and how you go from the spreadsheets and doing invoicing at night and all that kind of stuff, and what's next. And we started to try and implement a an ERP system within our business, and struggled. We had a usual thing. We had an accountant try and help us do that, and they really struggled to understand the construction industry and the different ways that we invoice and track time and bill clients and all that sort of stuff. And in the end, just through a PM that came working for us, who'd through COVID had actually been doing implementation of this software, we came up with a way of implementing a piece of software in our business, and it became, I suppose, the light bulb went off, and actually this is one of the biggest barriers to people having good work-life balance, is all the time that they didn't get into business to do the administration and the job management and all the other things that you've got to do, which is part of running a business. They got into it for the thing that they do inside the business, and the other thing is just something they've got to do to facilitate. And we saw how there's the digital side of construction, how far behind construction is, and how using digitalization and adopting digital tools can actually free up some of that time, ease some of that pressure, and therefore have the flow-on effect of providing better health and well-being and mental health. So that's suppose the story, if you like.
Hi guys, as you're enjoying this podcast, I just wanted to take a few seconds to let you know about my company, Coil Group. We're not just another safety recruitment agency. We're your partners in building a safer future. With over 25 years of experience and more than 1 million hours of safety work completed, our mission is clear: provide top-tier health and safety contractors tailored to the unique needs of your project. We also carry out on-site construction audits. From wind energy to power stations, utilities and engineering projects, our global reach and specialised expertise ensures your operations are not just compliant, but exemplary. For more information on how ensuring safety and sustainability of your products using our team of HSE contractors, visit coil-group.com or click on the show notes or video description now. I've also put a booking link into the description for you to click and have a one-to-one conversation with me. Now, back to the podcast. Enjoy and see you soon.
What a story. Where do you start? I love the fact that you've connected mental health with digitalization as well. I'm not saying that exclusively they're connected, but it's so true actually when you think about it. Digitalization can actually ease some of the burden of stress, which is related to mental health, which obviously is related to the epidemic in construction. And you've made that connection. So in our pre-chat chat, you did speak about the fact that on the digitalization side of things, you consult and help companies with that digital transformation. So walk me through, what does that look like if I'm Mr. Von Dutch, as you mentioned earlier on, roofing, Von Dutch roofing or Von Dutch plumbing. Let's call it Von Dutch plumbing.
I like it.
How do you help me?
Like a plumber.
How do you help me?
Yeah. So what we did was we set up a separate business, a business called Contact Solutions. So Construction Technology Solutions does exactly what it does on the tin, right? Does exactly what it says on the tin. And the reason for that was this identification of an issue with people adopting technology. We had an issue, and the more and more people I spoke to about software and taking things on, they all had the same problems. Their accountant just didn't get it, or the IT guy just didn't understand, and when we became got to become an implementation partner for a piece of software, we saw how extensive the issue is. There was a story for you. We were for a piece of software, we were transferring somebody over to a new piece, helping them transfer into a new ERP system, and it was the job management and system, and we went into their account and started to look through their WIP and their invoice to get everything tidy, so we were ready for an easy migration over. And this was a civil contractor, and the civil contractor had $1 billion of WIP on his book. And it was a quick step back going, are you doing $1 billion? It didn't fit in the size of the company that they were. Are you doing $1 billion worth of work? He was like, no, hell no, I wish. And he was using it for timekeeping and invoicing, but he was never doing the reconciliations. He was never closing things off. And so he had no idea. It was money in, money out. And the amount of times that we saw that over and over again. So he didn't know how much he'd made on projects. He didn't know if he was making any profit. He didn't know where his money was going. And that's just BAU for so many people. So we saw that there was just this issue in the industry, and it was bigger than what we were doing. There was, procurement is a big one. So the amount of time that people spend, both client side and contractor side, doing bids, looking for work, bidding for work, doing all of the tender process, responses, everything. That's such a massive suck of productivity and work and hours. And the big companies, they've got their own in-house technology teams and partner, and all that sort of stuff, and CTOs and all that sort of stuff. And I can afford to sink tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars into technology that they're probably only getting a small percentage of productivity out of, but everybody else, what do? So we decided to set up Context Solutions, which is a business that essentially is a facilitator of technology. So we help small to medium-sized businesses generally identify, implement, and get best use of the right technology. So that's probably the key thing, is the right technology. It's not just widgets down your throat, and just because you sign up to the subscription because that's what you're a sales dude and that's what you're going to do. It's actually, well, what is it you do as a business? Where are your pain points? What is it if you're a plumber, so you stood there, so Fun Touch Plumbing, if you came to us, we would actually sit down with you and talk about your business and what it is you do and how many people have you got. Do you need the bells and whistles one, which has got all of the scheduling and everything else on, or are you just a one-man band, so you actually just need something that's cost-effective that you can be taught how to use well, and it stops you from having to do your own manual invoices from Excel to Word or wherever it might be? Do you need an app so you can do it on your phone, so you can do it on the go? Is your accountant going to do a lot of the things? So actually all you need to do is just have templated up quoting and invoicing and stuff. So work out what technology you need. If there's a stack there and you need to create a stack, then we can help identify what that stack is and then have integration between them as well, so give you a technology stack, and then implement it for you, work with you to implement it, and be there to support if you need the support.
Jesus, do you sleep?
Occasionally.
So you're running a tech business. You've implemented the mental health within the business. Is the mental health side of things, is that a commercial business, or is that just something you do within BPM in your own business? No,
the mental health stuff is just something I'm passionate about, and just do through the businesses. It's a underpinning value of essentially the why I do what we do in terms of our business, or should I say how we do our stuff. The contact business was born through the passion I've got around improving health and well-being for the industry, and the way that we operate BPM is because of that same thing. My son, who's I said earlier, he's 14, and it's one of the drivers behind it. He's always, I said to him a long time ago, and I'm talking maybe 5-6 years ago, and so in his life it's nearly half of it. I told him a story about a contractor that I knew, who trained as a civil engineer and then decided he preferred to be on the tools, and he was one of the best contractors I've worked with, because he could do both, and he was precision on the digger, and he knew what he was doing. He was, because he could do both, he was an excellent contractor to work with. And I told my son about this years and years and years ago. But it's stuck in his mind. So whenever I ask him now what he wants to do in the future, he talks about being an engineer who's a contractor, or an engineer who's a builder, and I have that sitting in the back of my mind all the time. And knowing the industry is so unproductive, and knowing the industry is, it's one of the worst it is for health and safety and suicide. As much as I love this industry because it's given me everything I've got, and I'm passionate about it, I also, how comfortable am I in letting him come into it, knowing that that's what he's walking into. And that's one of the other drivers I have around trying to make a change, make it different. And so when he comes into it, it's in a different place, and it's better off from when I started in it. How many years ago that was? 25, 30 years ago.
It is true though. Like, that's very inspirational what you just said there, and thanks for sharing that story and the story about your colleague. And really sorry to hear that. But if we get to the hearts and minds of the young kids coming through school and educate them about how much of an opportunity there is in construction, like, there's a massive, as everyone knows, there's a massive global shortage of labor in the market. We're going to need your son and the daughters of the world to sort of take the next step into the construction world to deliver the productivity that's there. And we're not going to deliver the productivity without, really slick systems and slick operations. And that comes with digital transformation, whether you like it or not. We're going to need that. So you're joining those two together. And with all due respect, you're probably in the small to medium enterprise market yourself in the construction space. You're not a tier one, but you're talking like a tier one contractor, if you don't mind me saying so. And I think you're a breath of fresh air. We need more people to start thinking like that in terms of, what can I do that's a value-based system within my own company, and how do I, scale that up and spread the word? And you're doing that, and kudos to you. Tell me more about the context then. How business is that? How busy is that as a business?
It's been a couple of years of graft since we set it up. Getting people's mindset shift and change to want to do it, and also that small to medium size business, they're usually on the tools as well. So exactly. What we have found in the last 12 months, circa, is a bit of a mindset shift and more openness and adoption to it. I think the whole ChatGPT AI, kind of awareness and blow up has helped that, because all of a sudden, it's like people have gone, AI, I don't know how, but I need it. And they're kind of just wandering off and understanding your workflow and where things can be automated. So if you don't know how you work, then you can't automate anything. So first step is actually to automation, and then therefore AI is understanding what it is you do and understanding where things can actually be improved. So yeah, we've seen a lot more interest in digital tools, a lot more keenness to take on something and investigate what can be done in their business and what areas of the business can be, have something feed into it. There's still a big education piece around what areas can be. There's still a little bit of scaredness around the whole, AI is going to take people's jobs. But a good friend of mine, he has a saying, it's basically with AI, if you dig deep enough, there's always going to be a human at the end of it in terms of adding that value. And it's not about AI taking people's jobs. It's about making people more productive and enabling them to do more. The whole world every country has got issues around productivity and the billions of dollars that get lost due to productivity. But if we can claw back a bunch of that, and again, I think I heard that on a podcast, which was around the productivity thing and why we got so, how's productivity got spiraled so out of control. So it's at levels from 1996, and it's, well, we're killing less people. That's one thing. Health and safety's improved. I remember when I came out here 20 years ago, getting the health and safety pack from a tier 1 contractor, and they were allowing for 1 death per year. That was part of their KPIs. One person will die at the end of the if they did that, then they'd met their quota. And it was kind of, well, how did they choose that? Sorry, Steve, you're the unlucky one this year.
Sorry to cut across you, but I was at a seminar once. And somebody actually produced that slide, similar, like that they were allowing for 1 death a year. And I took my phone up and I went, clink, clink. It was like, I don't know, a couple of hundred people in the conference was like, you down the back that's just after taking a picture of that slide, you're not allowed to take a picture of that slide. So I was like, you put the slide up there, this is a public forum. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we're happy to talk about it in a sort of peer group. We're not happy to broadcast it to the rest of the world, because I was like, am I is this really happening? Like,
Mm-hmm. This was what I got was in a tender. Someone had submitted a tender, and we were going through the non-trade price attribute and looking at health and safety, and within their stats that for the year was their target KPI. It's 1 death. Fucking hell. I mean, we're killing less people, right? So health and safety has improved, and the flow-on effect is that some productivity there's more regulation, there's more rules, there's more requirements, so things have slowed down, and I believe that through digitalization we'll actually claw back some of that productivity, and we'll actually start countering back the other way and getting the scales to go back the other way of actually being able to do more, so people can earn more and by doing less.
Yeah, 100%. Like with AI, we don't have to go all down the road of AI, but if we can make things leaner and more efficient, then it allows you actually what's in my mind when you're talking there, Dan, is that it allows the owner of the business to actually spend more time looking at the values of themselves and their business. So the value is, can we provide value to the customer? So therefore, if I have more time, I can spend more time with the customer, talking to them about their challenges, making it better for them. I can spend more time with the employees to make sure that they're happy. I can spend more time bringing on better employees or more employees that are going to add more value to the business. Like, these are the conversations that, if someone's listening to the podcast, they're going, oh yeah, it's well and good, blah, blah, blah. But it does make a difference. This stuff is going to save you time and it's going to save you money. The issue that I see, or that people are screaming at the screens, watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast, is, yeah, but where do I start? How do I know? Or, this stuff is going to cost me a fortune, and, I'm going to spend a lot of my money, and next thing I'm going to be in the bin, and herself is going to be at home going, what the hell did you do spending £60,000 or euros on a piece of software that you know nothing about? You're a hands-on, you've always been a hands-on guy. Now you brought in this smart technology, and look what's happened. What do you say to that, Dan? What's your answer?
It's first off, it's a nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? It's I'm sure that same conversation happened when they went from being on the tools, working for somebody, to starting a business as well. And I know that I had, when I started the business, it was the multiple people saying, "Are you crazy? Why are you doing that? Take a job. It's a big risk. You don't know anything about running a company." I was actually going back to what I was talking about earlier on. Like one of the people that was offering me a job originally before I started BPM. When I told them about my decision to start my own thing, they said, "Good luck with it. All good. Good luck with it. give me a call in 6 months when it falls over and you're looking for a job again. And you know, that it's that kind of mentality of not taking the step and risking something, now moving into technology and a step towards digitalization. It doesn't have to be expensive. It's not a go and buy, and that's part of the problem, right? People think I've got to go and they'll Google software, and the people that have got the biggest ad budgets will pop up first, and that's how you easily get to spend 60,000 on a piece of software that isn't fit for purpose, doesn't do what you want it to do. Taking that step back and actually working through, well, where is it you're spending the most time that's the most frustrating for you? You know, 9 times out of 10 it's billing, right? The amount of people that aren't using platforms like Xero are still doing Word invoicing and things like that. Time capture, people, you know, whether the amount of people that are still using an Excel spreadsheet or job sheets, you know, manually writing things down. That all of those things are easily and cheaply done in a digital way. And that's how you just start the process. And then you start the next thing, you start the next thing, you go to the next thing, you go to the next thing. And then without, you know, like you talk to a company like Contact and you have the conversation, because we've got the experience of been doing this for quite a few years yet now. Having worked with a lot of companies, different sizes, different types, different areas, and we can point you in the direction of particular softwares or what might actually work, or if you looked at something, you can demo it, and you can work with someone like us to actually help do something, and see if it's helping, see if it's adding value. If I'd be the first to say, if it's not adding value, don't do it.
I love that, because like I honestly think that you're the type of people that, you know, for small to medium enterprise market, if somebody just has this mental block that there's so much stuff out there, and my kids is on TikTok and all this kind of stuff, and I don't know anything about that you're that person that goes, okay, hold on a minute, I'll take the responsibility, I'll take the ownership for making sure that you have the right product in order for you to be more efficient. And I think that's very powerful. And I think there is, like, at the top level, like the likes of Accenture and all these type of companies who advise the tier ones and the governments, that's pretty much what they're doing. They're basically saying, okay, you need to get on board with the latest trend, and you need to be staying ahead of the competition in order to make you more sustainable and to make your product more sustainable. And for the small to medium enterprise market, there isn't really much people out there that you could say are go-to people to help construction owners, you know, deal with what they think might be complex. And it is complex if you don't know if you don't know what you don't know. It is complex. Let's call a spade. But when you get on board with it, you go, holy shit, like, I could take this to another level. Or let's look at, as you say, if you start with the ticket one is know your numbers. Let's start with the numbers. Let's do you know your numbers? Like, you would be, I suppose, you know yourself, shocked how many people don't know their numbers. They might think they know their numbers, but when it comes to week by week, day by day, hour by hour, they don't know. So, like, when you go into customers, obviously you're probably thinking, okay, well, the first thing we'll do is, what are you using? Are you using Sage? Are you using Xero? Like, what is it that you're using? And then if you are using it, do you know what actually this is spitting out the other side? And how are you managing that? So, you know, people, oh yeah, I have Sage. Well, what are you doing with it? Like, you know, the data will tell you whether you're a successful business, a sustainable business, or whether you're a business that's, you know, got 6 months left or maybe 2 months left. And, you know, winning jobs is not an indication of success.
Yeah. And the revenue piece, right? That's what they say, revenue is vanity and profit's sanity. So if you don't know what you're actually, how you're coming out, and it's all being commingled with the next job or something else, or then how are you supposed to operate as a business? And that's one of it's one of the key things, I suppose, that sets us apart in this journey is that we set it up for the reasons that we set it up to help people, but we've got the experience of having come from building a business, starting a business, learning about how to run a business, employing people. BPM, we've got 15 employees now, so we're growing. We've gone through the pain of using a spreadsheet and then going from a spreadsheet to just a timesheeting application to needing to do better from transferring time to invoices and save time there to the next thing. We know we've been in the industry, so we know where there's productivity loss and tools that, because we're using them. So we've walked the walk, and so it's kind of the reason why you get a business mentor and things like that. And as you start to grow businesses, because you're paying for the wounds that they've already had and have scabbed over, the journey that they've already walked in the past. That it's the shortcut through, right? It's to get to a place without 1,000 licks, and then grow from there. So
love it.
That's the point of the business.
Well done, Dan. A couple of curveballs at you, because we do curveballs on the podcast. Knowing what you know now, what would you do different,
Dan? I guess it would be more about the speed to adoption, I suppose. It's but I'm quite a big believer in the journey you've walked, or the experience. You wouldn't have got to. You may not have got to the same place that you've got to if you haven't gone through the experience that you've gone through. So knowing what I know now, I would have set. We've gone through growing pains. We've gone through the transfer of stuff, and knowing what I know now, would have probably set off in a different direction as we first set up. But again, I wouldn't have got the lessons that I've got from the journey if I did do that.
Well done, well said. I thought you were going to say I should have went back to Manchester a long time ago.
It'll always be home, but
it'll always be home. Favorite book or movie?
Ooh, I'm a bit of a bookworm.
Okay,
so there's probably a few. I would say there's two from Tim Grover, who he was the coach for Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and Dwayne Wade and a whole bunch of other people. He's got a book called Relentless and one called Winning, and they're fantastic in terms of mindset. So I suggest you read them if you haven't already, listeners. And it also gives you both again, and he's also a big I guess, advocate for not feeling guilty about wanting more, if you like, and being driven as well. He has a great thing in Winning, I think it is, where which is about scale and balance, and this idea of balance, and everybody wants balance, and on a scale, balance is 0. So kind of who wants balance? It's not about having balance, it's about understanding when you need to tip the scale in a direction. So when you're working, work. When you're with your family, be your family. When you're exercising, exercise. Don't mix the three up. Just be all in on the thing that you're doing, and then know how to set back the scale the other way.
Be present, basically. Be present.
Exactly, yeah. And then David Goggins, a couple of his books, again, they're great. There's one in his second book, I can't remember what it's called, but
I don't know about balance for him now, in fairness.
No, it's different. But in his second book, there's a passage which I'll butcher, but it says something about there has to be somebody in every family, community, neighborhood, generation who is willing to do something different, not follow the herd, and that kind of really speaks volumes to me. It's why not do something? Why always do the thing you're going to do? If you don't challenge the status quo, you'll never know a different place, right? So,
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it. What about a point of interest about you that not many people would know? I didn't know that.
A point of interest.
I didn't know that about Dan.
I've got a few. There's some people know.
Keep it clean. Keep it clean now, Dan.
I fought Muay Thai for quite a long time, and multiple fights. And my head coach in New Zealand was a guy called Eugene Barman, who, if you watch UFC, he's the head coach of Izzy and Kaya France and a few other, Dan Hooker, a few Kiwi professional UFC fighters.
Wow. So are you still doing it, or are you just doing it for
Interestingly, I've just started back up again this year. The body doesn't move like it used to move. But yeah, I've got my son doing it. With my kids, I've always said that they've got to do a martial art. I didn't care which one, but they had to do something. My daughter has been doing judo since she was 4 years old, and my boy's kind of bounced between different martial arts, but he's finally landed in Muay Thai, which he likes, and it gave me the excuse to chuck the Thai shorts back on again and move again. So that's been fun.
Love it, Dan. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Like, honest to God, you are full of the beans, and when in inverted commas, in terms of your passion comes across very much in the show. Like, I don't know where you get the time to put into everything that you're doing, and obviously you're a family man as well, which comes across. If people want to get in touch with you, how do they do it?
Socials, you can find me on most of the socials, so LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. So it's through the company BPM Ltd, Context Solutions, or my handle is Dan Bradley backwards, so YELDARBRNAD. Or email. You go to our website, bpm.org.nz, or contextsolutions.io, and my contact details are on there. And I'm always up for
LinkedIn as well,
coffee or a chat. And yeah, on LinkedIn, Dan Bradley.
Mental health, people want to reach out to you, you're there to talk to them. Digitalization, people want to talk to you, or just general business, just how to do business smart, you're happy to talk to them.
100%. Yeah. I'll always have time to chat through and have a coffee if people are local, or jump on a call, or anything. I'm up for making the industry a better place.
You're a great person, and we'd love to have you on the show again in the future, Dan. Thank you very much for being our guest, and you're an inspiration. And so well done. Keep it going, pal.
Thank you, mate. It's been great chatting to you, and yeah, anytime. I'd love to come back on.
Hello, Gaffers. Hope you're enjoying the podcast. We love every one of the guests that we have, but in order to bring on more great guests, we'd love to build the channel with you. So hit the subscribe, hit the like button, and let's create a really great community where we bring in better and better guests for you to deliver great content and great pieces of information that you can take back into your business.